this is why I think it's very valuable having a level-headed person such as yourself on this program. Because when Domas says that, because he's been working with DeMar DeRozan, and he said something to the effect of the Kings are going to have to learn how to play around DeRozan.
Yeah.
That is not anything crazy. That's a minor red flag for me. Because I thought the whole thing was DeMar DeRozan fitting in with the Kings, not the Kings stopping what they're doing to make sure that DeMar DeRozan can do what DeMar DeRozan does.
Well, I think what Domas, he prefaced that conversation with that DeRozan does something unique at a Hall of Fame level.
Sure.
And so it's within the best interest of the team to figure out how to play with that within their system. Like, that's what, like, this might not be a seamless fit. Like, everyone keeps talking about, his basketball IQ is off the charts. It's going to be a seamless fit. It's like, okay, well, if it's a seamless fit, like, there are other locations that DeMar DeRozan's gone where they just haven't won. It's not like the Bulls were successful the last 3 years while he was there. They weren't. They weren't highly successful, and they had a lot of talent. That can be coaching. It can be the wrong mix of players. It can be, players not accepting roles, or like there's all kinds of reasons why that can happen. So, yeah, you need to figure out how to work within a system. And the Kings play a very specific system, but I think you also need a system buster. Like, Malik Monk is a bit of a system buster, right? But not really. Malik Monk does what he does within the Kings system. And that's something that I appreciate. He does. Like, I always considered, like, Bobby Jackson the ultimate system buster.
Sure.
Like, it was beautiful basketball, beautiful basketball, beautiful basketball. And then this guy who throws up shots that you're like, what are you doing? And then they go in and everyone cheers.
Yeah.
You know, like, if you, like, coach soccer and, there's, rec and then there's competitive, right? And then you get to high school and the mixture of rec to competitive is, like, very, very strange. Usually you have a lot more rec players or some players who've never played. Well, rec parents will cheer really loudly when their kid runs and kicks a ball as far as humanly possible. Comp parents usually are cringing the whole time. Like, man, you just booted the ball to the other team. We're not playing kickball. We're playing soccer. Please just make the 10-yard pass to the kid to your right that has wide open space to run down the sideline. Don't just kick the ball as far as you can. But every time you hear the roar of the crowd, it's because some kid kicked the ball as far as he can. It's like, okay, that's not really the sport. But that's where you kind of have to, like, adjust what you're doing and, like, sort of like your entire philosophy on how you're working with players. And I think for the Kings to be successful, they have to live in some weird world where DeMar DeRozan does his thing while they do their thing. And I don't know if that's 100% possible all the time, but at the same time, you have to appreciate a guy, again, like a Bobby Jackson, who does things that, like, realistically, like, weren't good basketball plays.
Sure.
But it doesn't matter. It goes in. We can talk all day long. I can sit here and break down the dynamics of point per possession, right? And
please don't.
It's just like, unless you're hitting 60% of your mid-range jumpers, 60%, they're a bad shot compared to a corner three, because a corner three is worth 3 points and a 2-point jumper. So the difference,
the analytics revolution in the NBA, 3 is more than 2.
Yeah.
Stunning math.
Well, a 40% three, because that's what the corner three is right around 40%, is worth 1.2 points. A 50% jumper from 18 feet, if you hit 50% of them, that's only worth 1 point. So you're falling behind 0.2 points per possession every single time down the court. After every 5 possessions, you're down 1 point. So it slowly, incrementally, like, adds up.
I feel like there's a way where you can kind of pick where DeMar can pick his spots. And this is where I think the basketball IQ factor matters a lot.
Yes.
Where they're going to run their offense and maybe his shot volume goes down X amount, whether it's 2-3 shots a game. I don't know.
Yeah.
But maybe there are points where he's doing a dribble handoff and it's get downhill and kick it out to Trey Lyles or Keegan in the corner, and that's the right play. But you know what? Hey, crunch time. It's down to 90 seconds left. Taking that dribble handoff, you're going to be DeMar DeRozan. You're going to get to your spot, and you're going to get a shot up.
Yeah.
Is that like that's where I think it's not necessarily blowing up the system to make sure that DeMar DeRozan is comfortable for 48 minutes of 82 games. It's all those late leads, not late leads, all those games the Kings lost late last year. That's where I think, man, having DeMar DeRozan who can just go get you a bucket outside of the scope of the system, who's going, okay, we know De'Aaron can do that. We know Malik can do that. Man, he can do that. Can somebody else be the guy, puts the ball on the deck and goes and gets him a bucket? Now they have one.
Oh, yeah.
Where he has played enough games, he's been in the league long enough where he senses that moment. He knows, hey, this game's getting away. 12-point leads down to 5. We need to score. I'm just going to go do that.
Well, that, and look around the league at the teams. Okay, so first of all, the 2 teams in the finals. Like the Dallas Mavericks have 2 of the best one-on-one players in the world. Okay, that's they were highly successful. You go to the same thing with the Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, these are one-on-one players. Like that's how these systems, that's how they are system breakers. The Boston Celtics shoot a ton of threes. And I think Dallas wants to shoot more threes as well, but you need these types of players. And I think not only do the Kings have one of them now, but they also have 2 because they already had De'Aaron Fox. And on top of that, they have a third in Malik Monk. So you have these 3 one-on-one guys who can do something different in crunch time. And again, I don't want to take away from what DeMar DeRozan does, because for decades, the mid-range game was like, it was spectacular. Like it was a huge part of the game, and it's gone away from that. And I think having a player that can live in that area, and not only that, get to the free throw line is super high clip.
For sure.
Those are really, really big things to have on your team. And so hopefully the Kings, I think the Kings could live in the mid-range a lot more.
Yeah, the mid-range shot is only bad if you're not good at making it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not even the, hey, I can get into a rhythm 16-footer and I'm going to cash this at whatever percent. It's the guys who took a step inside the 3-point line to shoot a long 2. It's like, no, just stay out there beyond the 3-point line, step back 8 inches and get 3 points for your shot instead of 2.
Yeah.
Like that's where, so I think you're right. I think everybody knows the Kings are they're going to drive and kick and spray threes, and that's what it is, where I think there's going to be a ton of opportunities in the mid-range because teams are built defensively to let teams settle for that. And now you have a player who teams have to kind of game plan defensively around stopping him in the mid-range. So maybe it opens other stuff up. But somebody said in the chat outs, this is where Mike Brown comes in. That's where having a good coaching staff can kind of help facilitate all this.
Yeah, Mike Brown and Jay Triano. And, again, you have the tie with Triano and DeMar DeRozan. I think the realistically how this works is that both DeMar DeRozan and the Kings give a little. They don't have to give everything. They don't have to give in to what they're doing and all of a sudden become just a mid-range jump shooting team. But last season, we saw DeMar DeRozan take his career high 2.8 3-point attempts per game. If he could get to 5, that 1.2 more 3-point attempts per game, and if instead of shooting 33%, he can shoot 36%, the Kings are going to be deadly. Like, because everything else he brings. But for me, if he wants to score 20 or 24 or 22 a game, in order for him to get there, he has to take that next step as a shooter in this system.
For sure.
Not for the Bulls. For the Bulls, is like, hey, man, we're down. I need you to go to work every single time down. Go to work, go to work, go to work. Do whatever you need to do to get a basket.
What he did here in Sacramento against the Kings, that.
Yeah. But that's not who the Kings are.
No.
And the Kings aren't in that situation very often where you're just like, hey, one dude has to just like sit there and do his thing the whole time. So, I mean, there are a lot of it, just for sake of like pointing it out. De'Aaron Fox averaged over 26 points a game in a King system where everyone gets an opportunity to score. DeMar DeRozan can too. I don't know 26, but like he can certainly average 21, 22 points per game in this system with this group of players. by doing a lot of what they do and then mixing in some of what he does.
Yeah.
Like,
I can't wait to see how this all shakes out.
yeah.
It's going to be so interesting to see how it fits. Last thing, I didn't hear Domas say this. I thought I listened to all the audio, but maybe I missed something. He said Kevin Huerter, he's been working out with him. Huerter's in great shape. Shot looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Are we just kind of, I don't want to say we. Am I just sleeping on Kevin Huerter as a factor for the Kings? Have I written him off too early? Because to me, I had him gone this offseason. He was going to get traded, and then he didn't. And now when we talk about starting shooting guard, I never really personally include him in that conversation. But is there a chance that Kevin Huerter is just going to shoot 40+% from three again and open things back up for the Kings offense?
Yeah, totally. I mean,
is that just on the table and I'm just being a big dummy for not acknowledging it?
I don't think you're being a big dummy. I mean, I think the way that fandom works, the way that, even media works a lot of the time is that you're either in or out on players, right? And so you can be all in on a player and then things go wrong and all of a sudden everyone shifts to all out. And then it's really difficult for people to climb back into the boat and say, okay, like, no, we want to see what he has to offer. Like, we got into this discussion on Saturday on the Kings Beat podcast, me and Sean and Brendan, about like, well, what's next for Kevin Huerter? And the answer is, like, he's got as good a chance, maybe a better chance than anyone to start at the shooting guard position. Or if you want to start DeMar DeRozan at the 2 and move Kevin Huerter to the 3, because one of them 6'6", one of them 6'7", and maybe one of them could use a little bit more of a, not as quick a guard. Okay. Like, that to me, if you're going to have DeRozan and you're going to have Sabonis on the floor who aren't natural 3-point shooters and the spacing could get bad, then, and you have an elite who has proven to be in the past an elite 3-point shooter who was third in scoring on your team, the season before. If you can put that guy on the court, and now I think there's going to be some defensive issues, but I also think that there's going to be like an oh my gosh offense with, 3 really good 3-point shooters and DeMar DeRozan and Domantas Sabonis on the court at the same time.
Yeah.
But like, we're going to have to wait and see how it all plays out. I'm not convinced that that's how this is going to go. And Mike Brown is going to do what's best for all of the players, not just one.
Yeah, the more I think about this and the more I look and we talk about what does this look like with DeRozan, and I might be moving back into the idea of Kevin Huerter starting. Because if that's what it was last year, if it was really, hey, he got knocked off of his off track by all the Chris Duarte stuff in the preseason, and then he started slow and just never gained his confidence back. He got hot there for a second, but it never came together the way we thought it would. If you know that starting him is going to bring that back and give you that additional element, even if it means sacrificing a little bit on the defensive end, I'm just doing that and figuring out the rotations defensively.
Well, I think that that's part of the discussion, but again, you don't make a like gigantic decision on a rotational piece just because somebody gets their feelings hurt and can't play in a different system. Like they because at the end of the day, you need to do what's best for everybody.
But I think that's ultimately what is best for everybody.
Well, no, because what's best for everybody might be that you have an elite defensive player at the shooting guard position who shot 42% from 3 last year, who doesn't need 12 shots per game to get things going. And that's Keon Ellis. That could be what's best for the team.
Sure.
What could be best for the team is putting Trey Lyles in the starting lineup, moving Keegan Murray to the 3, DeMar DeRozan at the 2, and then having a bigger lineup. That might be what's best for the team. Like, we don't know until it all plays out, and you got to mix and match. Can Kevin Huerter and Malik Monk be like a super dynamic scoring duo off the bench? Well, maybe they can with Trey Lyles. Like, maybe that's your 3-man bench. Like, that's going to play the primary minutes is that group. And maybe that's how you get this thing done. I think there are a lot of things that have to be figured out, but that's where good coaching comes in. And that's where, like preseason and training camp and seeing 3-man rotations and 4-man rotations and seeing like how players play together, how they play off of each other. That's really huge. And until we see it and, like sort of build up and actually play, we're not going to know.
Yeah. Can't wait to see how all of this shakes out with the Sacramento Kings. I'm done sleeping on Kevin Huerter. I think Kevin Huerter is going to be a factor at some point or in some way.
No, I think
maybe it's as a starter, maybe it's off the bench.
No, I believe Kevin as of right now. Yeah. And
he's one of their 9 best guys, right? 8?
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. And not only that, but the Kings realistically, they need to keep his value up, whether it's for themselves.
That's a great point.
Or whether it's for a trade, but they need to rebuild the value that he had the year before and kind of figure out what they're doing.